Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm going to call this part 3 or episode 3 of my nose job on my 69 bay window. And what I want to do this time is install this inner structure at the bottom here. In my last video, part 2, you saw me prepping the replacement nose. Now let's start chopping this out. Okay, this is bad. This is bad. Patch, 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 patch. I mean, I'm not saying I could do any better, but I have a nice replacement piece. I just don't want to take off more than I have to. I think I've got to come up to, it's hard to see. I think I've got to come up to this layer of metal here. But it's also been patched up in here. I think I'm just going to proceed and I'm going to take everything off. It's also attached at 2 points to the main frame, so I got to be careful there. I think this is all metal that was added. See there? Yeah, I think I'm just going to, where am I? Yeah, I mean, this is the inner structure. It's double wall. This is double wall. I assume this is it. This should be this. Hopefully. All right, let's keep chopping. So this is pretty bad. I'm looking at my new piece. It's flat here with a lip up. So maybe just because it's an aftermarket, it's slightly different. So I don't know if I'm supposed to leave this one. If I did, then there'd be 2 layers of metal. That is only a single layer, so I think this has to come off. I think this all has to come off. And this has all been patched in here. This is not good. This is beyond. This is beyond my piece. But, wow. So, I'm going to keep going off camera. I'm going to clean and peel everything. I went a little delicate here because there's the steering box and there's a couple of ventilation trunkings in there. And there's the end of the frames, or the frame where the frame ties into this piece. So I'm not sure exactly what state this is in. Certainly doesn't look very good right now. I'm going to keep cleaning this up, and I'll bring you back when I think I can maybe try to fit this thing in. So I'm underneath the bus, and well, it's not great. It's not bad over here, but if you get into this area, I'll try to capture this on film. It looks like this is a portion of that lip that I was talking about. So that looks like this all has to come out to join up with this upper part. But this upper part has been pieced in very crudely. If you can see that. Maybe you can see that, maybe not. Anyway, so, gosh. I got to peel all this away. Let me try to get it. So I've got to peel all this lip away to reveal just this. Now over here it's fine, but when you get into here, that light's annoying. Does that help? Probably not. When you get into here, let me put that light down. Patch, 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 patch. And you could almost live with it like this because this is all hidden. But it's hidden here, but it's very visible underneath. So I'm gonna have to go to my parts bin. I think I may have one of these. In fact, I know I got one of these. I just don't know. I remember seeing one. I do have one. I just don't know if it might be worse than this. So, but it's worth taking a peek either way. I'm going to keep removing all this, and I'm going to try to test fit the inner structure, but this here is also going to have to be redone. Oh my gosh. Okay, moving on. Okay, well, the good news is I did find this piece in my parts bin, and it's not horrible. I was hanging on to this. I wasn't quite sure why, because the whole bottom was messed up. But I'm kind of glad I did because, see that, the part that I need is not horrible. Now, of course, the part that I need the most is on from the middle on to the passenger side. I need that entire thing. And of course, on mine, it was smucked, same as mine. This was hit, there's collision damage. But this is buckled in a little bit, but what's left of it is not rotted out. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set myself up here off camera. I'm gonna dissect this a little bit, peel all this stuff here, this part that I don't need. I'm going to peel all this away and see if I can salvage some of this metal. And at the same time, it's going to give me an opportunity to see how these mounts were. My gosh, that was pretty shot. Spare steering box. So yeah, got some salvageable metal here. Unfortunately, it's been damaged a bit. Why couldn't it have been the other side? Anyway, kind of is what it is. I'm going to chop all this out, see what I can salvage. Maybe, well, I don't know. We'll see. Either we'll piece in some pieces or replace the whole thing. Probably go one piece at a time, but always subject to change. All right. I'll bring you back when I got this all stripped down, and hopefully this is salvageable. So I've got this piece all carved out, and I'm going to be able to salvage it. Now I don't think I'm going to replace the whole thing, and that's only because if I do, I would have to get into the separating the entire floor pan in there, or floorboard, and I don't think I want to do that. I think what I'm going to come up with, a way to trim away the old stuff, whether it's here, in sections. I'm going to carve away the bad, and I'm going to piece in what I need. Ideally, the whole thing would go in, but there's just really too much involved with letting all this go. I'm afraid I'm going to lose my structure, and I would have to separate the floorboard like I just mentioned. And I would probably end up destroying it. So for now, my idea is just to piece in some pieces. The bottom section is pretty much all cleaned up, and that piece tentatively fits. That's the lower inner structure. But before I commit to putting this in, I want to trim away some of this bad stuff. Okay, let's see how this goes. So I salvaged this much out of that lower piece. My idea is to do something like this. If I can pull it off. It's going to slice here. And then I sliced along the ridge so that when I weld on the inside, the groove will remain, and then the ugliness can be seam sealed. And then I'll just have to make this little area flat. Same with this little area here, flat, and then it should look seamless from the back. That's the plan anyway. Okay. Let's carry on. So this is where I'm at now. It's very close. I just got to clean it up a little bit more. Just going to push it into place. I'm going to push it. I'm going to tack it into place. It's going to make it nice and seamless from the back. And once it's tacked in here, that's the end that was mangled. I straightened out the best I could, but I'll be able to manipulate that a little bit and pull it up. Make this close up. Okay. Let's stitch this in. Okay, got a couple tacks in here. It's taking shape. Just got to work this end here. I'll trim this off a little bit, push it right in, and that should give us a nice finish on the inside. It should. Okay, so I got my piece all welded in, and I'm pretty happy with that. The section in the middle I just tacked, and then the little section here, which is going to be visible from the back, I did a cut and butt. I still need to come back and grind. Before I do that, I want to jump in because I've got a couple of little areas here that are bad. I'm going to try to use what's left of this to fix up a couple of these little bad areas here. Yeah, and then I'm going to call this done. I cut a little strip off of my leftover piece and put that in here. Of course, when I ground, I found that hole back there. I thought it was just the lip. It was a good idea at the time. Okay. All right. I got this part of the project all done. All tack welded, cut and butt, ground, little patches and pieces added down here. So that's good. Happy with that. And reason why I went this way, I'll show you. Okay, I'm underneath the bus again. So the reason for the way I cut that piece, so I made the seam land in this groove. So that was my way of keeping this very seamless down here. So this looks all factory. This is all factory. But they're two separate pieces, but they're joined in this groove. And they're tack welded. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to seam seal this crack. And then once that's painted, no one's ever going to know. Now over here, I had to curl up because of the damage, and I made it land almost in the corner and just below the floorboard. So those little welds coming through there, a little schmuck of seam sealer on here, and then once that's painted, no one should know, or no one should be able to tell that this was replaced, at least from down here. And then in the front side, it doesn't really matter because it's going to be concealed. All right, let's seam seal all this up and move on to the lower trim assembly that mounts right here. I just made a little plate to go onto this frame end, hoping to put this on something like this and then fill in the plugs, plug weld this in so that it's matching the other side. And then I've also came back and did the seam sealing. It's hard to make that stuff look good. I guess it doesn't really matter. This is all going to be concealed. All right, let's get this on and get back in to our main piece of metal. So here's that plate all in. Now I got my lower structure piece. I got the ends cleaned up. I got the center ground, and I made a little mark that should represent the center of this piece. It should line up with this groove and this hole. So let's just see if I can wrestle this into place. See if it makes any sense at all. Okay, here it is in place with a couple of clamps. And that's looking okay. That's just a rough mark. That's looking okay. I'm gonna have to take a couple of measurements to be sure. But on the ends here is where the, I mean, you can see, you know, there's been some replacement metal here that needs to be fixed. And then this can obviously be manipulated like this. Be pulled out, hammered in this way. It's hard because I never really had anything to go by. Gonna need more work on this side, obviously, but this side here seems to line up a little bit better, as in there's kind of a natural crease here, or a bit of a corner. And that seems to line up better. You know, I can almost just hammer this down and weld it down here, perhaps. I'm gonna have to take some measurements. This one here almost looks like it's a bit higher. And this looks like it needs to be, this would need to be pushed in. Anyway, I'm gonna play with it a little bit. And of course, it's also going to have to be welded where those two plates were. I ground all the inside of this, so there's going to have to be some passes of weld in there. I'm going to keep playing with it, and I think what I'm going to do is I'll have to do a couple tacks. And just to make sure that the replacement nose over there that you saw in the previous video, I have to make sure that this still fits. I don't want to weld all this through and commit myself if I've got it on wrong, but okay, I think we're maybe getting a little bit somewhere. So I'm gonna take a couple measurements and maybe pound this corner in a little bit, and we'll bring you back in a bit. So on the driver's side, it looks like I'm about 1 1/8. Kind of hard to see from this angle. About 1 1/8. And I'm able to bring this all the way up to the remainder of the old lip. I think that could almost exist somewhere here. And on the passenger side, it's raised up, obviously. If I bring this up, see, this is already riding higher. So this has to be lower. and then maybe fold it out a bit. Of course, this is the corner that was pushed in at one time, so something's a little bit racked. Because over here I am more like an inch, or actually a little bit less than an inch. So this is going to have to be manipulated down on this end. And you can see that that's, gosh, I have a go with this one. Okay. I'll keep playing with it. I got it tacked on both ends, so I'm going to bring the replacement nose over, make sure it still fits, and see how it fits on the bottom. And it still fits. Except for this. Okay, so I got this section fully in place. I went underneath and I welded around the two frame rails, and I came back, I ground, I seam sealed, I get everything cleaned up a little bit. So before this nose goes back on for the final time, I'm gonna give it a coat of this protective red oxide primer. Alrighty, well there's that new metal all coated up. So I'm pretty happy with that, looking good. The replacement nose does fit, tried that. So I'm gonna call it for this one, guys. This is gonna be end of part 3, and part 3 was the lower inner metal replacement. Obviously we ran into a little bit more, but that's all done now, looking good. All right, we'll catch you in the next video when we carry on with this nose job. That's all for now. Catch you later.